It's FTG Thursday, people. You know what that means. There's a lot of FTGs all over the place, and I don't know if I specifically pick stories today because of that or not. But every once in a while, I'm going to forget, and I'm going to be counting on you to remember who to throw out an FTG to. It's gonna be hard to keep up with that shit today. Anyway, good morning. Happy Thursday, and I don't have anything profound to say for this intro. So, other than it seems that the you know what's going on in the Senate this week, and it seems like the media's kind of controlled the narrative, even for the House impeachment managers. So we'll take a quick look at that and whatnot. But like I said, nothing profound in intro, and nothing profound in my pre-intro. So just play the intro. Maybe. Johnny, come on. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, Dawg Knight. And stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as Dawg Knight on the internet, and welcome to the Dawg Knight Channel. Welcome back. And it's Thursday, the 11th of, what month is it? February 2021? Yeah, that's what it is. And I'm glad you're here. Just a reminder, tomorrow I'm going to have a guest. Her name is Gothix, a new internet sensation. Kind of one of those, I loathe to compare her to Candace Owens because she's different. She's impressive. She's an impressive gal, but the comparison is, a black woman who blows up on the internet after kind of a conversion to conservatism. Although she didn't necessarily have a conversion, she just realized that when she told her views to people, they would jump on her and give her shit. So, but her rise on YouTube has been meteoric. I think that's a good word to use. But she already had a huge following on Twitch. So some of her following that came over from Twitch to YouTube probably helps a little bit. Plus, just she's a smart gal, and I wanted to have a chat with her and kind of see where she thinks she's going. So we'll talk with her tomorrow. She's really cool. And if you haven't subscribed to her channel, you should check it out. I just realized, too, that I didn't really tweet out the show today. So while I'm chatting here, I'm going to tweet out the show because, it's probably a good idea to put your show on the internet to make sure that people see it, although several of you have already done that for me. But, sometimes I don't always remember everything that goes along with doing this profession, so to speak, although to me, it's a hobby and a joy to do this every day, is streaming live now, ! And link. So you get to see me do a little I'm making the sausage while we talk, so to speak. Hey, so I'm just curious, too, as I'm doing this, what you all think of first of all, let's ask this question. And by the time I ask it and get some answers, I'm sure that I will see the answers. How many of you are watching the impeachment hearings? And when I say watching, I don't necessarily mean you have to be completely engaged with them, but just, following what's going on, seeing what some different people are saying and whatnot. If you are, just throw a yes in the chat. And if you're not, put a nope. Okay, I'm just curious. Because obviously I'm going to be talking a little bit about that today, but I don't want it to totally encompass everything we do here today. Although it is, it is what it is. Because it's fascinating as I watch it and I listen to what the House impeachment managers are saying. It seems like somebody said this. I don't even know who said it, but it kind of stuck with me. It's kind of the BuzzFeed impeachment. You know what I mean? Did I do that right? I don't know if I did that right or not. I think I did. They kind of are just, the Democratic impeachment managers from the House seem to be very focused on what the media has been saying and the narrative that they've been putting out there, and not necessarily the facts. One point, one of the House impeachment managers was talking about Chris Wallace in the first debate, and Trump was asked about if he, disavows white supremacy, and he immediately said, yep. And she literally went to a media source and said he failed to, disavow white supremacy. It was like he's been condemning white supremacy every time someone asks him. And it's just weird. And that's not the only example. There's several examples of this. But it's kind of weird that they've just, completely, and also they're making it very dramatic, using video and then putting Trump's words in places where that doesn't fit. And what they've seemed to have completely failed to do is actually do an actual timeline. Because if you look at the timeline, some of the stuff that they're talking about doesn't necessarily fit with what they're showing. So, for example, the president's speech didn't end till like 1:11, and the venue where he was speaking was some 1.8 miles away, and there were no cars driving through D.C. because they had all the roads blocked off. So anyone who would have gone from the speech to the Capitol building would have had to walk 1.8 miles, right? But the fact that some of the mayhem started, or some of the people were arriving at the Capitol building 15 minutes into Trump's speech. And some of the mayhem that was happening before the end of Trump's speech. And they're talking about how Trump could have stopped it, and yet Trump wouldn't have known about it yet because he was still on the stage speaking. And so the idea that he could just wave a hand and make it stop by tweeting or something like that. Well, I don't know that all these people doing all this, who happen to be the idiots who are fighting the police and trying to break the building, I don't think they were checking their Twitter feeds while they were trying to break into the Capitol building. So there's a whole bunch of little things like that. But the narrative all comes from media sources, this source, that source, and in fact, so many unnamed sources, because the media wasn't giving out sources. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what media sources were doing. So it's just weird. Anyway. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Yeah, I am going to talk about that day. I am going to talk about that, Maddie. Thank you for sending that. So, there's just a whole bunch of things. All right, real quick, let me, allow me to say good morning to everybody. Now, there was a question when I came into the chat this morning, because when I logged on, Tales of Gore, who I'm so glad to see again, I haven't seen you for a while, and welcome back, was here early on, and then I think stepped away for a while and then came back. So technically, Tales of Gore was first and gets a bell, okay, because you were first. But I also, you know what? Since you stepped away, and I'm also going to give a bell to the first person who was here. Kind of I'm not going to say legitimately because you were legitimately here first, but Black Hebrew Israelite was one of the first ones who came on when I actually fired up the machine. So I'm going to give Black Hebrew Israelite
That's right.
a bell also. There you go. So good morning to both of you. Also, good morning, Jesse Leon, James PFP, Chadwick Dupree, Mike Savage, Blarg, Cultist 4, Atheist Icon, Advocatus Diaboli, the Devil's Advocate. Good morning also to Shaitan's Advocate. There's more than one. Hyman Lyman, how you doing? Good morning. Good morning to you're a ridiculous lunatic, or just as we know that person as lunatic. Good morning also, Gunfox61, Truck and Bear, Scotty Dubs. Let's see, Zablu, Select a Boy is in the house.
Yeah, boy.
Good morning also to, now I got to scroll a little bit. You guys have been chatting away. All right, let's see. Who else is here? I got to scroll quite a ways. Wikipedia Snippets here. Good morning. Also, good morning to F and Mechi. Jonathan Peterson. Mitch the Ripper. Nice to see you, my friend. Let's see here. Maddie's in the house. FT Disney. Yeah, that whole oh, good lad. What's her name? Gina something. The Disney chick that got fired. I'm annoyed. I am so annoyed. I have a couple funny things to say about that, or a couple funny things I saw. Also, good morning, Green Badger Outdoors, Tales of Gore again, Attack Alpaca, Joe Biden, aka Uncle Bad Touch.
Come on, man.
Also, good morning to Molly Maggs. What's happening? Tyler F. Anna Lynn. Thanks. Oh, by the way, y'all who put the show out, who share the show. I was trying to say thank you to Tyler F. because he always retweets the stream. Also, Johnny Bonsacco, Truck and Bear, Maddie, and Mitch the Ripper, and all the people, Somnon Bull Nation. So a bunch of you for tweeting out the show. I really appreciate that. Please share the show out. Let's see, who else is here? Renee Mayette, how you doing? Am I caught up here? Teresa the Kid, what up? Saint Fugi, nice to see you. And I think I am caught up almost. Did I got everybody? Is that everybody? Oh, and Infamous One is nice to see you. You're here. Annalyn, I said already, I think. And I am caught up. So there you go. That's everyone who's in the chat during the hellos, and I'll try to keep up with people who jump in. 37 people in the house today. 23 likes so far. Hit the like button if you like what we do. Share the stream. Super chats and donations could go through YouTube super chats, or the preferred method would be Streamlabs if you don't mind doing it that way, if you're going to do donations. But I you know what, the generosity of you guys is very humbling, and those who are able to do donations, I greatly appreciate you, and I greatly appreciate all the people who come and watch the show on the regular. So let's get it started with some of the news items. Obviously, I can't really decide right now if the biggest news of the day is the day one of impeachment, or if it's the fact that Lucasfilm is dropping Gina Carano from the Mandalorian for her abhorrent social media posts. I wasn't going to talk about her first, but I'm going to. The Mandalorian star, here, I'll put it on the screen here. The Mandalorian star will not be returning to the series after Lucasfilm released a statement saying Carano is not currently employed by the company and there are no plans for her to be in the future. This comes after Carano shared a post comparing the treatment of people with political differences in modern times to that of Nazi Germany. In their statement, Lucasfilm called Carano's post abhorrent and unacceptable. The actor has also been dropped as a client by her talent agency, UTA. So I guess, hang on a second. Let me just read you one of my proverbs that's going to be in an upcoming video of in my Proverbs series. And this is it. Well, there's two. I have two that apply to this. One, no mountain of admitted guilt, nor even self-immolation, will ever be enough for the truly woke. And if you want to know who's in charge, just think about who you can or cannot criticize. This silliness. Now let's see. I think I took some screenshots. Did I take? Oh, I did on my phone. Doggone it. The funny thing about this whole Mandalorian thing is the people. There are a lot of people who are. Well, let's see. Let's see if I can find one of these, because there's some funny ones. Oh, actually, Maddie sent me something. Let me go check what Maddie. I know you sent me something. Wait a minute. Let me check. Hang on. Give me 1 second here. I wasn't planning on doing this, so let me go back into here real quick. Because there were some very ironic tweets about this. And these are not it. I didn't, okay. What's funny is there are people complaining about her making this comparison of how, conservatives are being told to they need to turn their family in and turn their neighbors in and shit like that. And in the same breath, some people are like, well, they're pissed off because she used a comparison to Nazi Germany, right? But while they're complaining about using the comparison to Nazi Germany, at the same time, did I bookmark these? Oh, I did. Here, like this right here. So Eric July was on here talking to somebody, and look at this statement here. She compared Nazis to Holocaust victims. Fuck you. There is no civil discord. We fight Nazis and we fucking win. Is there a more ironic statement there? People bitching about them talking about Nazis, right? But this person calls the people she's talking about Nazis and saying there's no civil discord right after saying, fuck you. I just found that fascinating. Just incredible. Of course, this guy also says stupid shit to black people because he said something to someone else. But also, another one I found here, and in fact, she didn't this guy. No, she didn't compare Nazis to Holocaust victims. And also, remember when the Holocaust Museum condemned Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for her Nazi Germany comparison, and the media defended her? Remember that? So here's the statement that Gina Carano featured, okay? Jews were beaten in the street, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone from their political views? Now, I thought it was kind of an innocuous statement, but how the media is trying to, they say that Trump was trying to divide. No, the media is trying to divide us. And I'm just going, okay, I mean, it's a little bit hyperbolic to compare that. But again, she's talking about, and there's a whole bunch of people out there right now comparing this time in history to that time in history on multiple levels, multiple ideologies. So comparing the former president, number 45, comparing him to the guy with the funny mustache, or Mussolini, or something like that. Have you ever heard anyone using that comparison? I know I have. It's like, how often do you hear? In fact, the knuckleheads in Portland, who are they? Who do they think they're fighting? You know, the goofy guys in the black, wearing all black, Antifa. Who are the fa they think they're fighting? Oh, are they making a comparison to Germany pre-1940? Huh. I think they are. So that's the post they canceled Gina for. It's a hyperbolic comparison of the modern left to Nazis by showing how far things can go when you otherize people. It doesn't deny the Holocaust. It warns of it. Ding! Right? Here, let me find, I'm sorry, I was going to find Maddie's thing here too real quick. Is this it? So, this is an interesting thread. Okay, let's just go through it. It's here. Let's do it. Let's use it. So here's an interesting thread that Maddie pointed out to me. Hollywood persecuted Gina Carano for her belief that she would be persecuted for her beliefs. Yes. And so this I answer. So Disney are the Nazis in this scenario, and writing her character out of a TV show is comparable to what the Nazis did to the Jews, homosexuals, dissidents, and Slavs. Oh my God. Oh my God. Maybe not at first, but yeah, let's make you get well, it's a start, right? Yes, it is. Silencing all disappointed. You might want to look up your history. I don't think you understand what happened during the Holocaust. Hey, okay, I'm going to read Maddie's thread here. I'm going to read Maddie's thread because it's poignant. During Hitler's rise of power, he used Goebbels and his propaganda machine to turn the German people against German Jews simply because they were Jewish. Long before the Gestapo and Kristallnacht, Germans were snitching on, harassing, assaulting, and battering their fellow citizens simply for being Jews. In this day and age, people would dig through someone's internet history to find one instance of when they fucked up. Instances of when they spoke against a certain political party, or instances when they used science and peer-reviewed information to argue a point in order to ban them from the internet, make them unemployable, threaten them with their life, and in many cases, go to their home and throw shit at their house, demanding they come outside. When you add that to government officials, AOC comes to mind, who encouraged the making of lists for people who contributed to Trump's campaign in order to make them accountable, quote unquote, you have nothing more than a modern day Gestapo looking for people who don't agree with them. This in no way will ever equal the horror of 6 million Jews, Romani, infirmed, and elderly being killed in gas chambers, but the events that lead up to the trains can be compared to what is happening now. And that is what Gina did. She didn't compare deaths. She compared the method that led to the deaths. Thank you, Maddie. Give that woman a hand. So, anyway, very well done, Maddie, and I'm glad you set this ding dong straight. Thank you, Renee Mayette, for tweeting out the show too. So anyway, just the cognitive dissonance of some of these people who are replying to this, like, for example, by the way, the people, good morning, Noble Valor and Lord Stanhope, how you doing? And Jaeger Pony, my favorite Canadians in the house. There are people, and the idea that, using people and the Mandalorian cast members who used hyperbolic comparison to Nazi Germany, right? Well, I believe this person, Pedro Pascal, is on the cast, right? Is there a guy named Pedro Pascal in the cast of Mandalorian? Oh, he made a hyperbolic comparison. Oh, this is America. Germany 1944, America 2018. Oh, are you not? I thought you weren't allowed to make hyperbolic comparisons to that pre-1940 time or 1939 or whatever. So, whatever. But there's some people supporting. A lot of people are supporting. There's in fact, for most of the night last night, canceled Disney Plus was trending. In fact, let's see where it is right now. I guess I don't need this doing this. Let's see, go into trending here. Trending number 1 on Twitter right now, Taylor Swift, whatever. It moved down, but canceled. Oh, in fact, this is obviously they curated this one out, but canceled Disney Plus or canceled Disney was trending number 1 for most of the night. And I think the people at Twitter woke up this morning and figured out, oh, we can't let that cancel, but we can let Gina cancel. In fact, there's not even a mention of canceling Disney Plus on here now, which I'm sure still going strong, I bet. All right. First donation of the day. Thank you, Scotty Dubs with the Lincoln, who says, when half of a country thinks the other half are Nazis and the other half thinks the first half are fascist, you have a problem. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to another subject. The impeachment trial. And let's see. Let's do news from it first. And then we'll do some, what do you call it? Then we'll do some opinion from it first. First of all, a couple interesting things happened. One was at the end of yesterday's hearing, there was a little bit of chaos that erupted at the end, where Democrat impeachment managers end up withdrawing statements falsely attributed to Senator Mike Lee after a Schumer intervention. So what happened is the impeachment managers, they I think it was Jamie Raskin, during his presentation attributed some statement to Mike Lee. Now, the statement came from a news source that attributed a statement via anonymous source to Mike Lee. And Mike Lee is like, I hate to break this to you, but I didn't say that shit, right? So what happens is at the end of towards the end, chaos erupted at the end of the second day of the second impeachment trial of now former President Donald Trump, as House Democrats were forced to withdraw from the record a statement a GOP senator said was falsely attributed to him after Senate Democrats lost control of the proceedings while they sought to wrap up the day. Hello, Hassan. Specifically, the incident that distracted from the Democrats' case against Trump began when Democrat impeachment manager David Cicilline recalled public reporting that then President Trump allegedly called Senator Mike Lee by accident when he was supposedly meant to call Senator Tommy Tuberville while senators were in a temporary holding room after being evacuated from the Senate floor during the Capitol riot on January 6th. And here's the
evidence is clear. Shortly after,
that's too long. I'm not going to go 5 minutes. Anyway, the clip points to President Trump's first call to anyone inside the Capitol building during the attack on January 6th. He attempted to call Senator Tuberville. He dialed Senator Lee by accident. Cicilline said from the well of the Senate, that is, he made his case to senators to convict Trump on the House-adopted impeachment article. Quote, shortly after 2 p.m. as the siege was fully underway, then President Trump made a call. This was his first call we are aware that he had made to anyone inside the Capitol during the attack. He didn't call the vice president to ask how he could help defend the Capitol. He didn't call the next two in line of succession to the presidency to check on their safety or well-being. Of course, he probably didn't know at the time how crazy it was. Anyway, instead he attempted to call Senator Tuberville. He died Senator Lee by accident. As Senator Lee describes it, he had just ended a prayer with his colleagues here in the Senate chamber. The phone rang. It was Donald Trump. How Senator Lee explains it, the phone call goes something like this. Hey, Tommy, Trump asks. Senator Lee says, this isn't Tommy. He hands the phone to Senator Tuberville. Senator Lee then confirmed he stood by as Senator Tuberville and the president spoke on the phone. On that call, Donald Trump reportedly asked Senator Tuberville to make additional objections to the certification process. That's why he called. Now, that just doesn't even sound like it's logical to have happened at first. And also, unless Senator Lee was quoted himself as to this, how would a news media know about what the contents of this call was? Anyway, Lee was clearly of the belief that that characterization of events and of comments as attributed to him in particular was inaccurate. As the Senate moved to wrap up business on the impeachment trial for the day, Lee sought to have those Sicilian comments stricken from the record. Are any of these worth doing? Now, they're all too long. I'm not playing any of these clips. This led to a remarkable moment where Senator Patrick Leahy, the president pro tempore of the U.S. Senate, who is also presiding over the impeachment trial of Trump, since Supreme Court Justice John Roberts declined to preside, given that Trump is no longer in office, made an unclear ruling apparently rejecting Lee's motion. Lee then appealed his ruling and sought a vote in the Senate to override Leahy, and after several confusing moments, the Senate began voting on Lee's objection to Leahy's unclear ruling. After a couple senators' names were called, when the clerk began calling the roll of senators to vote on Lee's objection, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer spoke up and intervened to stop the vote. Schumer used a tactic called noting the absence of a quorum, essentially pausing the Senate's formal business as televised for the nation while senators and staff handled the dispute off camera. And anyway, in the end, what happened is Jamie Raskin comes up after that and says that they're going to withdraw that particular part of the record, and there's no objection to it. Now, what was really strange about that, I happened to be watching during this event, okay, because I was watching with I think I was watching on Hard Bastards channel, and what was fascinating is, first of all, Patrick Leahy, who's presiding over this, he's acting as the judge. He's also acting as a juror. He's also acting as a witness. And he is about as feeble-minded as Joe Biden right now. I did not realize how badly, how little, it seemed like Patrick Leahy wasn't there. There was an aide sitting in front of him telling him everything he should be saying. And it was surreal watching this, he's supposedly presiding over this hearing, having no idea what he's doing. And it's, he's been in the Senate for a long time. He's a senior, let's put it this way. Patrick Leahy is from the state of Vermont. Y'all know who else is from the other senator from the state of Vermont, right? That would be Bernard Sanders. Patrick Leahy is the senior senator from Vermont, and he's also, I believe, 3 or 4 years older than we was kangaroos. Hey, Johnny Hellcat, how you doing? And also, good morning. Why are you so angry? He's the senior senator from Vermont, and it's just strange. And I don't want to FTG Patrick Leahy, but right now I want to FTG the entire United States Senate well, at least the Democrats and the 6 Republicans who voted to have this nonsense move on. But it's just like, Leahy's, it was surreal. Let's just put it that way. They need to put an earpiece in his ear instead of having that woman stand in front of him telling me everything he's supposed to say. It was just weird. So anyway, that was that. And then, it's funny, the people they have as the House impeachment managers. Now, this didn't even click in my head until I saw this article. Before I do it, I want to say, I do have my cup of reparations right here, and I'm still doing the hot Arnold Palmers, which I'm kind of digging this. I don't know if I may or may not go back to coffee, but it is still a nice hot reparations drink, and I think everyone should just take a sip while I do. It's so good. Anyway, first of all, you have Eric Swalwell, okay? Eric Swalwell, compromised by Chinese spies in 2015, perhaps may have been get a little on the side while he was doing that. But this one, I didn't remember until I saw this article. Jamie Raskin, as an impeachment manager, complaining about interfering with democracy, trying to, destroy democracy. Oh, he was one of the people who tried to block the Electoral College vote in 2017. Oh, FTG Jamie Raskin. On Wednesday, as the second day of former President Donald Trump's second impeachment trial began, Senator Rand Paul noted that Representative Jamie Raskin, the Democrats' lead impeachment manager in the Senate trial, himself fought against the certification of the Electoral College vote in the 2016 election. Way to go, Jamie Raskin. Democrats have impeached Trump for incitement of insurrection, in part because Trump encouraged Republicans to contest the electoral certification on January 6th before the Capitol riot. Raskin himself, what's wrong with me? No, not lemonade and Lipton tea. No. Yeah, okay, all right. Just realized someone was bitching about my hot Arnold Palmer. No, I brew half a cup of hot tea, and then I pour some lemonade in it, and then I heat it some more, and it's fantastic. I've been. It's kind of like, look. See, here's the thing. All right, we're having an aside here. We'll come back to Jamie Raskin. When I had COVID, okay, back in December, right, just before Christmas, one of my favorite things to have, because I was having a hard time talking, like because I was coughing all the time, was I made hot toddies, right? Hot water, bourbon, squeeze of lemon, and honey, right? And I was drinking those. It was like a little hot bourbon, right? And that did a wonderful thing. What kind of tea? It's English breakfast tea. Thank you. I can't remember the brand though. It's some hoity-toity brand that my wife had up in the cabinet that no one was using for a long time. Anyway, so I was drinking a lot of those, and it's like, oh, that's good. But it's kind of hard if you're drinking bourbon all the time, trying to function. And after I, went back to work and started doing things again, I couldn't be drinking hot bourbon all the time. So instead, I started drinking hot tea with honey and lemon, right? Just lemon, I'd wedge lemon. And I really like that. It's good stuff. A little honey and hot tea and whatever. It's good for your soul, too. And then but then one day I didn't have any lemons. And I didn't really feel like going to the store, and I had some hot tea, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I don't want to use that reconstituted lemon juice that kind of tastes like chemical waste. And I looked in the refrigerator, and I saw a bottle of Simply Lemonade. The Simply brand. I think Minute Maid actually makes it, but Simply Lemonade. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, what the hell? Let's just try it. So I made my half a cup of hot tea, poured in some Simply Lemonade, put it back in the microwave, heated it up, and I'm like, oh, and I did put honey in that too. And that was pretty damn good. So, there you go. need to send the recipe. It's simple. Just this is probably I would say not a 40. It's probably how much? 16. This is probably a 22 ounce cup, right? Fill it with half the water, throw it in the microwave till it boils, put it in your tea bags, let your tea bags get done, and then fill the rest with lemonade and put it back in the microwave for another minute, and you got a hot Arnold Palmer. And it's fantastic. And you could, I could throw some bourbon in this too, but it's a little early for me to do that right now. Plus, I got shit to do this afternoon. But anyway, very, very good. So anyway, wanted to have a lemon party, but didn't have any lemons. Yeah, good morning, Midnight in Exile, by the way. So there you go. It was, it's quite tasty. And I'm doing it in lieu of coffee because I still don't have my taste buds completely back yet. And I can't taste coffee in the way that I want to taste coffee. So I'm just sticking with this until my taste buds start working again. All right. Too much information, right? All right, let's get back into this. Article. Microwave water. What? You have to have a kettle for your tea water. Well, you know what? When you're in a pinch and you want to get it done, throw in the microwave. You know what? Hot water tastes the same whether you boil it or microwave it. I'm just telling you. Okay? Just telling you. You just set off leaf juice drinkers all over the world. Oh, I know some of those. I know some of you are very picky about how you do things. I don't make tea. I use tea bags. Okay, and so as long as the water's hot and it seeps or whatever, teas. I'm a coffee guy. I don't have special teapots and all that stuff like you people on the other side of the pond do. All right. Let's go. Okay, back to this. So anyway, Rand Paul noted that the lead impeachment manner in the Senate trial himself fought against the certification of the Electoral College vote in the 2016 election. Democrats have impeached Trump for inciting to insurrection, in part because Trump encouraged Republicans to contest the electoral certification on January 6th before the Capitol riot. Raskin himself has argued that Trump's big lie of 2020 election fraud, or big lie of 2020 election fraud, incited the violence. So it's okay for Democrat Jamie Raskin to try to overturn Trump electors, but it's incite to violence when Trump urged Congress to overturn Biden's elections. Isn't that called hypocrisy? Paul tweeted with a link to a Real Clear Politics story about Raskin's antics in 2017. So here's the thing. Here's the report from as reported in Real Clear Politics. Raskin rose in a futile attempt to block the certification of the Electoral College votes in January 2017. Then Vice President Joe Biden shot down his objection. Quote, I have an objection because 10 of the 29 electoral votes cast by Florida were cast by electors not lawfully certified because they violated Florida's prohibition of dual office holder, Raskin said. Raskin rose to speak even though no member of the Senate signed his objection. Biden asked if a senator had signed his objection, and Raskin had to admit his objection was invalid. So he lied. He lied. While Harris pointed out this move, he did not explain what Harris. Explain just how it did explain how hypocritical it truly was. Tim Harris, the guy who wrote for Real Clear Politics. Raskin pulled this stunt even after he had thrown cold water on the idea of contesting Trump's Electoral College win. Quote, I would love to challenge the Electoral College vote because our election was badly tainted by everything from cyber sabotage from Vladimir Putin to deliberate voter suppression by Republicans in numerous swing states, he said with no evidence. But it's a very hard thing to prove that an election would have turned out differently than it did. And the law requires a challenge from both the House and the Senate, and I'm not seeing that happen. In other words, Raskin had falsely claimed that Trump stole the 2016 election by working with Russia, but he had also publicly admitted that no challenge to the Electoral College results would get anywhere, but he still pulled a pointless stunt to slow the certification. And now Raskin is the public face of an impeachment trial based on the premise that Trump incited an insurrection by encouraging Republicans to block the Electoral College certification and directing his supporters to march to the Capitol in protest. Tragically, some of the Trump supporters took matters into their own hands and violently attacked police officers, breaching the U.S. Capitol and causing deaths of at least 5 people, all just to delay the certification for a few hours. So anyway, the hypocrisy abounds. Let's see, what else did I put here? Oh, and then there's Eric Swalwell. Oh, because here's the thing. Democrats are arguing that at the impeachment trial that the riot wasn't caused by one speech. It's an interesting article from Breitbart. Obviously, Breitbart has its slant, but it's accurate. Democrats argued Wednesday that the Capitol riot was not the result of one speech, despite the fact that the article of impeachment passed by the House of Representatives last month claimed that President Donald Trump's January 6th incited it. Joaquin Castro, one of the House impeachment managers, spoke during the second day of arguments in the impeachment trial of the former president, arguing that the riot came after weeks of Trump's criticism of the 2020 election. This attack did not come from one speech. It didn't happen by accident. The evidence shows clearly that this mob was provoked over many months by Donald J. Trump, Castro said. The argument appeared to undermine the central basis of the impeachment, which is that Trump's speech on January 6th at the Ellipse specifically incited the mob at the Capitol. The House made that claim without noting evidence that the mob had already begun storming the Capitol more than a mile away before Trump finished speaking, and despite the fact that he told his supporters in his speech to protest, quote, peacefully and patriotically. By the way, can we just get an FTG for Eric Fartwell just because he's Eric Fartwell? Anyway, Castro's Democrats spent little time on Trump's words in the speech, arguing instead that he had deliberately signaled to his supporters to attack the Capitol after stoking claims of election fraud for months. You know, that's the other thing. So I'm still, as I watch these proceedings, I'm still looking for the words that Trump said to attack the Capitol. Because they keep saying it, that by Trump's words, they knew exactly what he wanted them to do, that they wanted him to breach the Capitol. And yet I've yet to see those words that supposedly said that. Anyway, so there's more in that article. We'll skip that, though. Also, just the fact that Congress appoints itself judge, jury, and prosecutor in the impeachment trial. And this is an interesting article saying the framers would be astonished by this abuse of power. Robert Sibthorpe and Roger Marnwaring were clerics of the Church of England during the rule of King James I. Both of them published books dealing with political issues, each of them taking a position that by divine law the king could levy taxes without Parliament consent. Freedom of speech was not yet enshrined as it was to be in the American Bill of Rights, the English Constitution was never written down, and it evolved through a series of lunges for dominance by different power sectors. Parliament felt its most important privilege was going to be undercut, and it fought back with its own severe weapon for bringing down enemies: impeachment. The same Parliament that produced the Petition of Right also impeached, convicted, and imprisoned these two churchmen. In his turn, Charles I would soon devolve that Parliament and pardon the two men. The framers of the American Constitution wanted to avoid the perils of the British way, which seemed to them to lurch from the excessive power grab of one branch to an excessive grab by another. Only a little more than a century had gone by since the English Constitution had completely collapsed under the stress of the warring factions, and the country fell into civil war and eventually Cromwell's military dictatorship. At the same time that the framers wished to avoid the failures that happened in Britain, they were very consciously building on the English tradition of government from the bottom up, with a common law preserved by the people based on bedrock conceptions of liberty. The framers valued the idea of a strong executive, for in that position alone could be the necessary power focus to meet emergencies. Thus, the president is given the role of commander-in-chief of the armed forces, as well as having some of the powers of the British monarch possessed to right wrongs that occurred under the law through the power of the pardon. This serves as a check on the power of the legislative and judicial branches. The framers did not invest in the president the kind of prerogative that King Charles thought he had to legislate on his own without need of that parliament. Nor did the framers allow the president to be entirely above process. An English monarch could not legally be deposed or be subject to legal process. But although an American president has certain immunities while in office, unlike the monarch, he can be removed through impeachment and trial by the House and Senate, respectively. Yet, hello, TC Ball. Yet in the careful considerations of the framers, the impeachment power that Parliament had historically asserted was trimmed. The American legislative branch must also not be allowed to establish itself as supreme, as the British Parliament was already in the days of our struggle for independence. In the United States of America, the mighty tool of impeachment was limited strictly and precisely to being a check against another branch's abuse of power. It could not be used to inflict imprisonment or execution. And it could not be used against those who were not in office. Its sole purpose was to remove power from someone misusing it, and with the possibility, in addition, and only as an addition, of disqualifying an office holder from holding office again in the future. Now, the rest of this article is going to tell you what I've been saying, what I was about to say anyway, and I'm not going to read it, but the idea right now that the United States Senate, in lieu of having Chief Roberts preside over this Senate hearing, is really strange. It probably would throw historians for a loop. The idea that they think it's constitutional to have the person sitting as the judge in this case being Senator Patrick Leahy, also being one of the jurors and one of the witnesses, because he was a witness to whatever it is. And someone yesterday was complaining because apparently Rand Paul, during these proceedings, handed a note to one of Trump's lawyers. Now, I don't know what was in the note. I don't care what was in the note. But all of a sudden, Twitter was just all aflutter. Rand Paul just handed a note to Trump's lawyer. What is he doing? He's supposed to be an impartial juror to this this proceeding. And I thought, wait a minute. He an impartial juror? Now, right before I saw that, I was watching an interview of Dick Blumenthal. Richard Blumenthal. I think he's a senator from Connecticut. And he's talking to a reporter talking about, now remember, Dick Blumenthal is also a juror and a witness in this trial, which is weird because a juror can be a witness and a witness can be a juror. And then we have the guy presiding over it who's all three. In that interview, Richard Blumenthal is telling the reporter that, that we must do this and we must convict Trump because he needs to be held accountable. What? Wait a minute. I could have sworn I just read someone complaining about not being an impartial juror. When it came to Rand Paul handing a note to the lawyer for Trump. But then I got Dick Blumenthal over here telling us how we must convict him. That would mean that you're not being an impartial juror. And then your judge in this case is also a juror and a witness. Any form of English common law that we base our laws on seems to be falling on its head. So I just thought that was weird. Oh, by the way, so as concerning the Capitol riots, or hang on here. Oh, I do have an article on Patrick Leahy here too. What was the reason? Oh, here's a good article on what I was just talking about. I forgot I had this pulled up. So Patrick Leahy's disgrace is what this is entitled, and the New York Times, February 10th, has a Trump on trial sidebar type article featuring Patrick Leahy, the 4 decades plus Democrat senator from Vermont. Leahy gets celebrity treatment from the Times, of course, because he's Democrat. Because as Senate President pro tempore, he is presiding over the sham Senate impeachment trial of a private citizen, Donald Trump. The senator has accepted his role as presiding officer in this unprecedented, I made that up. Yeah. Please clap. I legit low talker. Anyway, in this unprecedented proceeding as the longest serving senator of the majority party in the Senate. The role came to him because Chief Justice John Roberts declined the part, as did Vice President Kamala Harris. Actually, Vermont senior senator should have refused the part as well if traditional principles of fair play were to be observed. As the Times article by Emily Cochran points out, Mr. Leahy is simultaneously a witness to the alleged high crime, inciting insurrection, and the juror weighing the former president's fate, and the judge presiding over the proceeding. Madison in the Federalist number 47 quoted Montesquieu for the proposition that the provision of liberty requires that the 3 great departments of power should be separate and distinct. This principle applies no less to separating the powers of judge from the powers of the juror, but the senior Vermont senator is apparently untroubled by mingling powers that should be separate and defined. Consider the 56-44 Senate vote to proceed with the Senate trials, unquote, 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 whatever, on the Trump impeachment. One of those 56 votes to go ahead with this sham proceeding was cast by presiding officer Leahy. Had he ruled that he could not both preside and cast votes in this proceeding, the opted to preside, the trial would have been the trial would have been approved 55-44, not 56-44. But what if the unholy 6 Republican senators had followed their constitution and voted against the trial? With presiding officer Leahy not voting, the trial would have been stopped in its tracks 50-49. Sanity, not ruthless partisan zealotry, would have ruled the day. That Leahy is presiding officer and juror is a grievous wound to Anglo-American jurisprudence and sets a dreadful precedent of the concept of justice with blindfold and evenly balanced scales. We face a future where the idea of impartial justice follows the notion of important journalism into the memory hole. So, yeah, that was my point. He should not be. If he's going to be the judge, he should no longer be a juror or even a witness. Good morning, Chicago Mike, who says I'm at work, so I'll have to listen later. Okay, well, I appreciate that. Hi, Data Wasteland. I just noticed you there. All right. So, anyway, how are we doing? Oh, we're just down at the top of the hour. Very good. We're doing okay on time. Let's see. Let's kind of move on into some other areas, and this is regarding the Capitol riot or whatever you want to call it. So remember that guy what's his name? It's in the article here. John E. Sullivan. Do you remember that name? So during the Capitol riot or insurrection or coup, there was a young man named Johnny Sullivan who was filming and also yelling and stuff, right? And telling people what to do. And he got arrested, and we just found out that, oh, well, he's kind of more of a BLM Antifa type, right? But they caught him right in the middle of the action. And so they arrested him, and then they let him out. Then they arrested him again. Well, it seems that perhaps he might have been let out again. Why is this so screwed up? Hang on. There we go. Meet the BLM activists who helped direct the January 6th Capitol incident. Hang on a second here. That's an error. The events of January 6th were never straightforward as they were depicted as though by those seeking to excuse an excuse to criminalize political oppositions. Consider this characterization of the day. Trump, quote, this is a quote from a media outlet. Listen to this. Trump supporters and Proud Boys stormed the United States Capitol and attempted a coup on our democracy. January 6, 2021, the moment that changed America forever. Now, as you listen to that line, first of all, there's a lot wrong with it, but also those lines by themselves are not especially interesting because you hear them everywhere. But it's who wrote the lines that should raise eyebrows. Meet John E. Sullivan, founder of Insurgents USA, as reported by the Utah journalist Justin Higginbottom. Quote from the article. When Black Lives Matter protests kicked off in Utah in late May, John Sullivan noticed a lot of their leaders were white. So the black 26-year-old former speed skater decided to start his own organization. He called it Insurgents USA, and he immediately started organizing protests for racial justice. End quote. Now, Sullivan was not only wrote about the awful MAGA people who stormed the Capitol, he actually helped encourage and direct the very same people he condemned. It's not a wild conspiracy theory. That's straight from the government affidavit filed in federal court. The FBI reached Sullivan the day after the quote-unquote insurrection, which Sullivan condemned. Sullivan admitted to the FBI that he had entered the U.S. Capitol with others through a window that had been broken out. According to a video obtained by the FBI after the crowd broke through the last barricade, and as Sullivan and the others approached the Capitol building, Sullivan can be heard in the video saying at various points, quote, "There are so many people. Let's go. This shit is ours. Fuck yeah. We accomplished this shit. We did this together. Fuck yeah. We are all a part of history. Let's burn this shit down." These are all quotes that came straight out of Sullivan's mouth that are on video of him saying it. So when law enforcement attempted to stop the scrum in which Sullivan embedded himself, he threatened officers. The FBI affidavit notes, in at least 2 encounters, Sullivan can be heard on the video arguing with officers, telling them to stand down so they do not get hurt. Among other things, Sullivan can be heard telling officers, quote, "You are putting yourself in harm's way." Also, quote, "The people have spoken." Also, quote, "There are too many people. You got to stand down." The people out there that tried to do this shit, they got hurt. I saw it. He's telling this to an officer. Also, the affidavit further notes that Sullivan helped break at least one of the Capitol building windows. When the crowd encounters a closed door, Sullivan pans to a closed door and it can be heard saying, "Why don't we go in there?" After someone hits against the door, Sullivan can be heard, "That's what I'm saying. Break that shit." In a later, anyway, I'm not going to go through all of them because all these things that he did it while he was filming him doing it. So it's all on video, and I mean you've seen the video probably. Let's see. So this is the part where you just scratch your head. While many of the other arrestees from January 6th continue to be held in custody with high or even no bail, the presiding U.S. magistrate mysteriously released Sullivan from custody on certain conditions. Those included a condition that Sullivan refrain from continuing Insurgent USA operations. Within days of his discharge, Sullivan eventually violated the conditions of the release, prompting the government to file a motion to have him taken back into custody. In that motion, the government alleged, quote, on January 27, 2021, the defendant supervising officer reported that the defendant had committed 4 violations of his release conditions on January 17th, 18th, 19th, and 26th, respectively. The first 2 alleged violations involved the defendant's alleged logins to Twitter accounts, Insurgents USA and Real J Dents, and activist John, while the defendant had been prohibited from accessing enumerated social media sites, including Twitter. He had been instructed by his supervising officer that he could use the internet only under his father's supervision. He had been further admonished that he could do no work for Insurgents USA. That third alleged violation involves the defendant's purchase of an internet-capable phone and in direct contravention of his supervision officer's instructions, an apparent attempt to seek out alternatives to Facebook, another prohibited platform on the internet. The fourth alleged violation involves the defendant's January 26, 2021 appearance on InfoWars, for which he purportedly requested that Insurgent USA's website be specifically plugged on the show so that people could follow him and his organization. Great. Yet, as of this writing, the record appears to indicate that Sullivan remains free on bond. And actually, if they were going to talk about incitement, this guy's the poster child for incitement. All during the riot or whatever you want to call it, he's egging people on. Yeah, burn that shit. We should burn this shit. This is, go do that. Go get through that door. In fact, he participated in the breaking of some of the windows. So anyway, FTG John Sullivan but he now why would they do this for him? Because he's a BLM activist. So, I don't know if they're just trying to sweep this shit under the rug, that this guy was there, but FTG John Sullivan. All right, let's see, moving on. Oh, this is a story about the next plot against Trump. Basically, what they're saying is going to happen is that they're going to try to invoke the 14th Amendment and make Donald Trump ineligible for office based on, now the 14th Amendment, there's a provision in the 14th Amendment that people who've taken an oath for the United States of America and have been part of, it's interesting because I think, okay, here it is. Here's what they're trying to pull. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment allows for the disqualification of individuals from holding federal or state office who both previously, 1, took an oath to support the U.S. Constitution as a federal or state government legislator or officer, and 2, then shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, the United States, or given aid and comfort to their enemies thereof. Now, it seems if they tried to do this, if let's say, which is the very likely scenario, that Donald Trump is not convicted for this article of impeachment, which is most likely, and the House and Senate try to take up this particular action, which has a very, very slim chance of winning or, happening. But if it did, how long would it take for the Supreme Court of the United States to shoot this shit down? I think it'd be very quickly. So, I think again, this is a time waster, and that's it. Sorry, I kind of didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night, so I'm trying. I need more tea, more caffeine. All right. Moving on. Parler. There's a study out, and it seems to have vindicated Parler, at least in reference to the Capitol riots. And I'll call it riot. It's not an insurrection. It's not a coup. It was just a riot from some assholes, or just people who thought they were doing something great and really just didn't think it through. Okay. Well, apparently Parler has been vindicated. A study finds that Facebook, far and away the most used social media by Capitol Hill rioters. But if you watch this show, you already knew that. By the way, good morning to MC.
Stop. Hammer time.
How you doing? And also Sean. How you doing? What's up? All right, so Parler was the platform for merely being suspected of this dubious distinction. I think it's time for Amazon to shut down Facebook. I don't know if they can. The coordinated big tech deplatforming of Parler is looking more and more suspect. Last month, I reviewed every arrest report DOJ had made available at the time, and the overwhelming number of social media posts cited in these reports were those posted on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. There was barely any mention on Parler. Georgetown University's program on extremism collated not just those arrest reports made available via the DOJ press releases, but more than 200 arrest reports otherwise unavailable. According to this assessment of DOJ arrest reports related to the events at the Capitol on January 6th, Facebook is the overwhelming winner in the violence-spreading, hate speech permitting social media landscape. YouTube and Facebook own Instagram were close seconds and third. Parler purportedly shut down as the purveyor of right-wing extremist hate, lagging the other more prominent and well-protected insurrection plotting social media tools. So anyway, Sheryl Sandberg downplayed Facebook's role in the Capitol Hill, insurrection. Should I just use Schumer's word, erection? Anyway. In fact, Parler was so infrequently mentioned in the 200 plus DOJ charging documents compiled by the program on extremism that it barely registered a blip. According to Forbes, just after the Capitol Hill riots on January 6th, Sheryl Sandberg, Facebook chief operating officer, admitted the company's ability to enforce its own rules was never perfect. About the shocking events of the day, she added, I think that these events were largely organized on platforms that don't have our abilities to stop hate and don't have our standards and don't have our transparency. Yeah, right. Facebook chief operating officer shortly after the Capitol. Oh, that's what she said, that she is that. Anyway, Sandberg was later criticized for downplaying her employer's role as a platform for the organizers of the siege. But Facebook was far and away the most cited social media site in charging documents that the Justice Department filed against members of the Capitol Hill mob, providing further evidence that Sandberg was perhaps mistaken in her claim. Facebook, however, claims that the documents show the social media company has been especially forthcoming in assisting law enforcement investigation of users who breach the Capitol. Yes, we are the platform that they use the most to organize this shit show, but guess what? We're cooperating to help you find the people who organize this shit show. That's fantastic. Anyway, I just find that I find that not to be news at all, because I bet most of us already knew that, didn't we? All right. Here, let's give it an ace here. Let's see. Let's get into some really different stuff here. Oh, this was great. I don't know if you saw this exchange. This is the comic relief post of the day. So at some hearing, Senator Kennedy, not related to the dynasty Kennedys, but the Republican from Louisiana, John Kennedy, pressed Neera Tanden what were they doing? In a hearing, whatever. Pressed Neera Tanden, that President Biden's nominee to lead the Office of Management and Budget, during Wednesday's hearing, asking her if she stood by her previous comments personally attacking senators, because she has a tendency to do that. And now she's Joe Biden's nominee to lead the Office of Management and Budget. Neera Tanden, great. I'm just going to show you the exchange because I can't do it justice, and it's only 1:24 long. But this is funny as hell. Here it is, the exchange between John Kennedy, Senator, and Neera Tanden. Let me full screen this real quick. All right, take a listen to this because this is funny.
Multiple times. I have said that in every role.
Okay,
and
let me
so
interrupt you because I got to go to another subject. I appreciate your answer. I have to tell you, I'm very disturbed about your personal comments about people. It's not just one or two. I think you deleted about 1,000 tweets. And it wasn't just about Republicans. And I don't mind disagreements in policy. I think that's great. I love the dialectic. But the comments were personal. I mean, you call Senator Sanders everything but an ignorant slut.
That is not true.
And when you said these things, did you mean them?
Now,
I would have said ignorant.
I don't know if you caught that. You called Senator Sanders everything but an ignorant slut. Now, those of you not old enough to know what the hell that comes from, if you remember from the original cast of Saturday Night Live, Rosanna Dana. Or no, that was from Point Counterpoint. Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin. They used to do a spoof on like news shows where they have a debate between two of the anchors, and one of the recurring insults that Dan Aykroyd would do to Jane Curtin was, "Jane, you ignorant slut." So anyway, John Kennedy revives that.
You call Senator Sanders everything but an ignorant slut.
That is not true.
And when you said these things, did you mean them?
I would have said ignorant.
Now, did you catch that? Somebody in the background. I don't know. It might have been Sanders himself who said it. Listen to what the guy in the background says, though. Okay, here we go again.
You call Senator Sanders everything but an ignorant slut.
That is not true.
And when you said these things, did you mean them?
I would have said ignorant.
I wouldn't have said ignorant. Oh my God. Anyway.
Senator,
And whoever this is right here is chuckling. Oh my God.
I have to say.
Now listen to her answer though, because she's having it on. He's got her in the hot seat because Neera Tanden. Let's just say Neera Tanden uses Twitter the way many people use Twitter, basically as an insult machine, and she is a prolific when it comes to that. Oh, I think it was Lindsey Graham. I'm right. I wouldn't have said ignorant, but just a slut. No, she never called him an ignorant slut, but what he's saying that the names she calls people, you've called even Bert. He's talking about how. Look, Neera Tanden, establishment Democrat through and through, right? Establishment Democrat through and through, and not very. Not only is she not fond of the Republicans, but she also wasn't very fond of Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders, to her, is not an establishment Democrat. Oh, sorry, she's an establishment Democrat, and so she's not kind to Bernie Sanders either, because she's a middle of the road Kamala Harris, Joe Biden type of Democrat. Although I don't even know what that means anymore. But anyway, so he said you called people everything but an ignorant slut. Now listen to her though, because he has some very pointed questions for her about the nasty things she has said about people. So this continues.
I deeply regret my comments.
I understand that, but
And
when
I
you
feel
said
badly
them, did
about
you
them.
mean them? I understand you've taken them back, but did you mean them?
I'd say the discourse over the last 4 years on all sides has been incredibly polarized.
I'm asking about yours. Did you mean them?
I really feel badly about them, Senator.
Did you mean them?
I feel badly about them.
Did you mean them when you said them?
I mean, I would say social media is
Did you mean them when you said them?
I feel terribly about them.
Did you mean them when you said them, or were you not telling the truth?
I mean, I feel badly. I look back at them. I said them. I feel badly about them. I deleted tweets over.
Are you saying that because you want to be confirmed?
No, I felt badly about them. And
did you mean them when you said them?
Yeah, she said some shitty things about people, but
Senator,
she felt badly about them. But she kept saying
them,
them, but she can't admit she said them. So anyway, but I just thought the ignorant slut thing was funny. All right, let's go. I got grab bag because it's almost time to go. Let's just get caught up on the other tabs and other news things. Apparently, I don't know this guy. Who's this guy from Pennsylvania? I'm sure Gunfox could tell you. Is he the lieutenant governor or something like that? Anyway, Democrats' newest political crush is a privileged Harvard grad who pointed a gun at an unarmed black man. Oh, no. Well, here you go. John Ossoff, Beto O'Rourke, Pete Buttigieg, in each of the past few election cycles, Democrats have grown enamored with a white male candidate.
You're fucking a white male!
Who promises to be the future of the Democratic Party. Their infatuation fuels the candidate's rise to national celebrity status, but the end result is almost always disappointing. Democrats appear to have already settled on the political crush for the 2022 election cycle. John Fetterman, Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania. He's a white man.
You're fucking a white male!
Obviously, and he's running for the Senate in the open election to replace Senator Patrick Toomey, who is retiring at the end of this term. Now, prior to be elected to lieutenant governor in 2018, Fetterman served multiple terms as mayor of Braddock, a Pittsburgh suburb with fewer than 2,000 residents. His first attempt at running for Senate in 2016 ended in failure after garnering just 20% of the vote in the Democratic primary. Fetterman, 51, doesn't look anything like the other white dude Democrats. Like other white dude Democrats have fallen for in the past. He's 6'8", bald, covered in tattoos. Despite his privileged middle-class upbringing and his master's degree from Harvard Kennedy School of Government, he looks and dresses like a nightclub bouncer or the guy a union boss might send around to solve problems. That is no doubt part of the appeal. Big John Fetterman can save the Democratic Party if the Democrats let him, reads the headline of Rolling Stone profile published days after the 2020 election. His campaign announcement video was praised for being packed with Rust Belt grit. Fetterman is fond of saying he doesn't look like a typical politician or even a typical person because he's a big giant dude with a bald head and all that stuff, looking kind of scary. But a 2018 profile in the Washington Post describes Fetterman as a walking folk hero, half Pete Seeger, half Metallica, the kind of anti-politician a Democrat wizard might conjure to grab the dispossessed Americans who tipped off the 2016 election to President Donald Trump. But, and he's really good at Twitter too. Anyway, there's more fluff about him here, but he has a small problem that just may come back to haunt him. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat, for the $4.99. Streamlabs says a wee bit late on this, but now it's both sides, huh? Yes, it is. So here's Fetterman's problem. In 2013, when he was mayor, Mr. Fetterman used his shotgun to stop an unarmed black jogger and detain him, telling police that he had heard shots fired near his home and spotted the man running, according to a police report. Fetterman continued to yell and state that he knows this male was shooting, the police report says. The officer who patted down the man, Christopher Maines, then 28, found no weapons. The officer noted that Mr. Mayers was wearing running clothes and headphones. Mr. Mayers was released. According to accounts Mr. Fetterman gave his 2013 local media, he chased the man in his pickup truck and used a 20-gauge shotgun he kept in the truck to hold him until police arrived. Now that doesn't sound too nice, does it? Putting a shotgun in the face of an unarmed black man? I don't know. I have a feeling that's going to come up in it's going to come up in some kind of debate or something. You just gotta Anyway. Oh, but wait a minute. He's a Democrat. Damn it. Okay, let me read this part. Fetterman's response to the Times story, a slickly produced video titled "Gun Violence," pulls out all the stops in an effort to encourage this sort of flexibility. Fetterman cited Black Lives Matter and invoked this fatal shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary and the fact that he lives near an elementary school as justification for his actions. I realized that I could never forgive myself if I didn't do anything, Fetterman said of his decision to chase down an unarmed black jogger and point a shotgun at him. As mayor, I always believed it was my duty to protect and safeguard my community. There's a small problem. Unarmed black jogger. Sorry. Them's your rules, assholes. All right. Let's see what else I got here. All right, let's just get these last few headlines out, and then I got to get the hell out of Dodge. There's actually a Democrat who's not happy with the Democratic Party right now. Somebody named, and you can read the article yourself, but what's her name? What the hell is it? Wait, where the hell is it? Hang on here. Her name is. I thought it was in the beginning of the article. Anyway, someone named Wright, who says that. Damn it. She says, "I'm a Democrat, but it's time to leave the party." Oh, no, this is a former CIA officer. His name, Brian Dean Wright. As Democrats whip up a political circus in Washington, D.C. with the second impeachment of former President Donald Trump, they're focusing the nation's attention on the rhetoric that they allege incited violence at the Capitol on January 6th. Yet for those of us paying attention, we see through this absurdity. It is the left that is overwhelmingly responsible for the political violence and destruction that is hammering our great nation. For years, Democrats like me have watched with increasing alarm as our own political leaders and activists, from Speaker Nancy Pelosi to media outlets like MSNBC, have used an endless stream of hateful, violent, and ultimately un-American rhetoric that has resulted in billions of dollars of economic damage and given birth to a violent national movement. Some of its earliest hatred coming from the party was out of the mouth of the Squad member Ilhan Omar in 2019. Not once, but twice, she used anti-Semitic smears for generations have been used to marginalize Jewish people. But rather than condemn her vitriol and strip her of her committee assignments, Democrats in the House, from Speaker Pelosi down, chose a toothless resolution that broadly condemned hatred and avoided any mention of Omar herself. Of course, Omar is not alone in her bigotry. Sadly, there are other examples of it flowing through the base of the Democratic Party, suggesting bigotry is systemic. I love it when they use their own words against them. It's kind of funny. Consider the campaign of now Vice President Kamala Harris. When she was asked why Democratic primary voters failed to support her presidential bid, she gave voice to an uncomfortable truth. The elephant in the room about my campaign, she explained, was that her party was not yet ready for a woman and a woman of color to be president of the United States. Yeah, because she said the voters, but remember, this is the Democratic primary. They're not ready for a woman and a woman of color to be president of the United States? Well, that's because your damn Democratic Party's full of bigots, right? Vice President Harris was right, of course. Democratic primary voters were too bigoted and hateful to support a woman of color for president, just as they were too bigoted and hateful to support another minority, Pete Buttigieg. So they ended up getting a white male.
You're fucking a white male!
So anyway, I'm not. This is a great article. I don't have time to read all of it, but this guy is explaining how it's the Democrats who he brings up the riots, he brings up all kinds of stuff that and how the rhetoric that people have used to kind of skirt the idea that these riots have been very destructive, and that the violence has been coming from the left more so than the right could ever have, that the right has ever brought about. It's a great article, so it'll be in the tabs when we're done. So by the way, just like always, I will immediately after the show throw all these articles into the description under the one tab link, which will be right under the description of this video. So just a reminder. Anyway, just moving on. Another thing here. So apparently this GOP representative quoted Hitler, and so Democrats were trying to get her to resign. Well, apparently there's a bunch of rabbis who are defending her. On January 5th, the day before the Capitol riot, Mary Miller quoted Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler saying, "Hitler was right about one thing. Whoever has the youth has the future." Many Democrats and Republicans condemned her statement, and some called for resignation, but the Coalition for Jewish Values, which represents more than 1,500 Orthodox Jewish rabbis in American public policy, defended Miller. Miller apologized for her comment and then met with the CJV last week. So yeah, what they're saying is that her comments were not inappropriate. Just because you talk about the people who were around the guy with the funny mustache, it's not always going to be out of turn to use that quote. So anyway, she went and met with them, and they've given her forgiveness. And even though there's plenty of people still bitching about what she said, the Conference of Rabbis have supported her in this effort. So that article's in there. Also, Facebook. All you need is the headline for this one. Facebook testing a number of approaches for limiting political contact. Yay! I'm so glad I never go on Facebook anymore. You can read that. I'm not going to. Now, remember the deal with TikTok? President Trump was trying to force TikTok to sell or whatever. Well, of course, because the Biden administration has to reverse everything that the Trump administration does, even if it was beneficial to American citizens. Biden administration indefinitely suspends Trump TikTok deal. And part of it is because the tech firm has lots of lobbyists, and a lot of them are in Biden's ear and pocket, so to speak. So that's that. You can read on that on your own. Anderson Cooper had another comparison that probably shouldn't have been made. Anderson Cooper compared the Capitol riots to the Rwandan genocide. I'm just going to let that sink in. Capitol riots, Rwandan genocide. Exactly the same. I mean, how many of you have seen the movie Hotel Rwanda? Kind of gives you the synopsis of what was going on in Rwanda as far as the Rwandan genocide back in I think it was in the 80s. But if you've seen the movie Hotel Rwanda, you might understand why this is an absurd comparison. CNN's Anderson Cooper compared the Trump supporters who stormed the U.S. Capitol building last month to the Third World genocides in Bosnia and Rwanda that killed hundreds of thousands of people. 5 people died. Oh, my God. This line pisses me off, too. 5 people died during the January riot, including 4 civilians. One was trampled, one was shot by police, 2 others, 2 appear to have had heart attacks, and Capitol Police have not yet released the cause of death confirmation about the one police officer who died. Sickening, because we now know no blunt force trauma. 1990s. I'm sorry, it was in the 90s. And so Cooper says, we've seen it in Bosnia. We've seen it in Rwanda, where radios was telling people, Hutus were telling the radio listeners that the Tutsis are cockroaches, getting them ginned up for genocide. Yeah, that's what we're seeing here, isn't it? Cooper said it on his primetime show Tuesday while Illinois GOP Never Trump Republican Representative Adam Kinzinger nodded along. Let's see how long is this clip? We'll just...
part of it, I think, just based on what you were just saying, it comes to mind, the idea of otherizing people is something I think we saw a lot of over the last 4 years. I mean, it's something we've seen a lot over the last decades. But
who otherizes people? I mean, speaking of a pot kettle moment, what were they calling the people in the red hats? Oh, that metaphor you're not supposed to use unless you're on the correct side of the political aisle, I guess. Right? What were they calling them? They're calling them the new Klan, the new Nazis. Oh, Anderson Cooper, is that otherizing people? Basket of deplorables. Yeah, that's a good one, Midnight in Exile. FTG. Anderson Cooper.
It's so easy to otherize people, to make people other than American, other than patriotic, than human. And we've seen it in Bosnia, we've seen it in Rwanda, where radio was telling people, Hutus were telling the radio listeners that Tutsi were cockroaches, getting them ginned up for genocide. And you see it in these videos where people who claim they are patriots are in the face of a police officer calling him, as we're seeing it right there. And
calling him what?
Gouging
calling
out the
what, Anderson? Wait, whoa. People in the face of a police officer? Oh, you mean like in all those other riots that have been happening all summer and all winter since last May? In the face of a police officer? All ACAB. Remember that one? Which is a skinhead saying, neo-Nazi saying that the Antifa has adopted. What are you talking about, Anderson Cooper? Have you been blind for 9 months or a year almost?
I have one, squeezing one in, suffocating one in a doorway.
Yeah, whatever, Anderson. You moron.
Part of it, I think, just based on what you were just...
Anderson Cooper also said this back on January 12th. I was in Rwanda in the genocide. I hear people talking about civil war in America. I'm so upset when I hear these people at rallies, Trump rallies, talking about civil war as if it's some sort of cleansing. Really? Oh my God. What an asshole. Anyway, we also have today in Blacklisted. Apparently Peter Pan and Dumbo are now being canceled because Disney Plus is flagging them. They're coming for you next. It's a never-ending effort to cleanse our culture of anything that might offend any minorities or anyone on the left. Disney Corporation has decided to block access in the accounts of any children 7 or younger of several of its best and greatest children's films, including Peter Pan, Dumbo, and Swiss Family Robinson. Disney implemented a revised content advisory in October to flag up any issues surrounding racial stereotypes and concerns were raised in relation to Peter Pan and other productions. The decision to ban the films from children's accounts was made by a group of external experts who were brought in to assess if the content represented global audiences. While the film remains available to adult accounts, they come up with disclaimers that said This program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people or others, or cultures. These stereotypes were wrong then and are wrong now. Rather than remove this content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, and spark a conversation to create more inclusive future together. Yeah, I can well, maybe as an adult consumer, maybe if I would have to explain it to kids if they were watching it, but I can certainly understand historical context and when things are in cartoons or whatever. I mean, I know that, Pepe Le Pew, that's not how French people actually act now. And it's a stereotype. Or I know that, Speedy Gonzales and all the characters in that cartoon. Yes, it has some stereotypes of certain people of the border persuasions and whatnot. But good Lord, just sometimes they just need to just get over themselves. All right, last ones. Oh, this was terrible. This gay father of mixed-race children was too white for the San Francisco school board. I don't get it. A gay father was denied a spot on the San Francisco school board's Parents Advisory Council due to his race. During a February 9th meeting, Seth Brenzel was unanimously endorsed by the sitting members of the Parent Advisory Council for one of the council's 4 open seats. The Advisory Council specifically noted that it was lacking representation from the LGBTQ plus families and those who with experience with foster youth. Brenzel and his husband are adoptive fathers. Before the school board meeting began considering Brenzel's appointment, however, Commissioner Matt Alexander expressed concern about creating a space that overrepresents white parents. Oh no! This is public shaming. It's bullying behavior by people of power, leaders of our community. Seth is one of the most caring people I know, a community member in support of Brenzel said, according to the event's official transcript. Another supporter noted that Seth would be the only male on the pact. He would be the only LGBTQ member, and he has a mixed-race child. But to no avail for the truly woke, you're only allowed if you aren't already represented. So there you go. You can read that one on your own. Also, the top high school in San Francisco has been forced to eliminate merit-based admissions, so fuck you Asian kids. Well, what's the point of having a school for gifted and talented if you're not allowed to choose the gifted and talented to go there? But if that's enough of that. Also in the news, this guy got fired in Houston for using up some doses of the COVID-19 vaccine that were going to go bad. So he went and found people that needed it and gave them to him, and basically they've fired him for it. It's a maddening article. Now, the fascinating part about this article, though, that as soon as I saw the headline, I read the first couple paragraphs, how the people are. This is somebody in Houston, Texas, this happened to. Okay. So the big thing is how bad Texas is for prosecuting this guy. Well, I don't know if you remember, but there's a governor. What's this article from? What's this little minor publication? Oh, the New York Times. Because I know in New York, there's a governor who threatened $1 million fines for giving COVID vaccines to the wrong people. Now he's backed off on it a little bit, but remember that? He said, if you give these vaccines to people not on our priority list, you can get $1 million fine. But let's bitch about the doctor in Texas who got fired. All right, gang, I got to call it a day. not that. That's not what I wanted to do. What the hell did I do?
Hey,
come
this
back.
is Dawg Knight.
Come back. There we go. Not yet. Not yet. I gotta say goodbye first. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today on the Morning Night Live. If you haven't done so already and you like what happens here on the show, if you enjoy being in the chat, if you just sometimes like hearing me go off on a little rant here and there, please put a beating on that thumbs up thing down there. That whatever that little this thing, hit that, the one that looks like this, not like this. And also, if you'd be so kind, share the stream out. I know some of you do that already, but if you don't, it really helps. And if you really like what we do, throw a buck or two in the chip jar once in a while. A lot of you do that. I appreciate it so much. Streamlabs, Super Chat, Venmo, Cash App, all those. Oh my God, what the hell was that? All those are in the description down below if you're inclined to do so. And I appreciate all of you who do that, people who share the stream, people who join the chat, and just hang out and have fun. Remember, tomorrow we have our friend Gothix will be on the show, and if she's not your friend already, she probably will be after you hear her talk tomorrow. I'm very excited to have her come by and join me on the show. So that's it for today, but I'm late. Holy shit. I gotta go. My name is Dawg Knight. And I'm out of here. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and thank you for watching today on the Dawg Knight Channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comments section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterward so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through the Streamlabs link, which is also in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.